About 4 months ago, we started a brand new hardcore world, and in that time, we've converted an entire island and made it look pretty cool, if I do say so myself. We've planted an enormous wheat field and built a windmill, we built a logging camp, and we've built a whole bunch of awesome farms. And eventually, we even got ourselves some wings as well, but that appears to have made a whole lot of you quite nervous. I can't think why. Nothing to do with the last hardcore world ending, I'm sure. And I've had a whole bunch of you telling me I need to get myself a totem or two. And I think that's what we're going to do today. One thing we're not going to do, however, is make a raid farm. What we're actually going to do is just do a raid. We're just going to do a normal raid. We're going to find a nice village and do a raid. Nothing special about it whatsoever. Nope. By which I mean, let's go grab a shulker box full of goodies. Because the problem with raids is, well, let's be honest, they're quite boring. So I'm going to see if I can make our raid a little bit more exciting. And for that, we're going to need a whole bunch of redstone. We're going to need some dispensers, hoppers, pistons, all sorts. And what we're going to do is, well, we're going to try and make this a bit more of a cinematic masterpiece instead of just a pillager raid. Where's the fun in that? But I don't know exactly what I'm going to need, so I'm just going to dump a whole bunch of stuff in this box and maybe another couple of boxes, and then we're going to go on a bit of an exploration and find ourselves a perfect village for a raid. A super fun cinematic over-the-top raid, of course. So I've gathered a bunch of stuff together. I think I've got everything I need. Look at all those arrows. They're going to come in very handy, as is the TNT. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. What we need to do now is go to bed. Clearly, the sun's gone down. And don't worry, we'll be making use of these later in the episode as well. But for now, what we need to do is go find ourselves a lovely village. A nice, quaint village somewhere off in the distance that's not too close to any of my stuff. And, well, plan our setup, I guess. And I'm thinking my best hope for a village is probably going to be off in this direction, because over here there's lots and lots of plains, and we want somewhere that's quite open, ideally. And I guess something else that would be useful would actually be to have some kind of an outpost fairly nearby, so we can actually get bad omens. So we're looking for a village near an outpost. There's quite a cool village here that could be good for us. We could set up a few things around here to take care of any kind of raids, but I'm going to look a little bit further afield just in case there's something better around the corner. I mean, you never know, do you? And we also need to see if there's an outpost nearby as well while I think of it. So I think I've found our location. We've got a pillager tower over here, and if we go just over this way, we have a wonderful plains village. It's got some lovely rolling hills, good views, and most importantly, if we get a bit closer, it's got some very good sight lines, and that's definitely something we're going to want for this. So I guess the next step for me is to plan. And that plan's going to involve a few steps. What we want to be doing is kind of funneling the pillagers into specific locations, and that's where we're going to, well, deal with them. But a large point of attack does seem to be this way here. I imagine they're probably going to come running over the hills as well, and they're also probably quite likely to sort of spawn up on that side. I don't imagine there's going to be too many spawns coming from this side, mainly because we've got the coastline here and there's just not so much space. So we're going to focus more heavily on this side, that side, and of course the hill at the top here. And I think this point here is going to be the perfect location for our very first weapon, let's say. Weapon of warfare. And also quite possibly one of the ones I'm most excited about building. So first up, let's just make a little bit of space over here. We're going to be looking at this kind of area as our field of fire, let's say. So we've got a bit of a platform to put this on. That should be enough. And what we're going to be making is an arrow storm cannon thing. So this is the design by Timberforge, and I'm pretty much going to be following a tutorial, and hopefully the results of this should be absolutely devastating if they come from that direction. But we might build a couple more elsewhere as well, just to cover our bases. To get this started, what we want to do is... Great, the rain's just started. Fantastic. But we'll get some furnaces down there, and then we need a couple of dispensers on either side. We'll put one there, and we need another dispenser facing this way. And then we'll get some redstone across the top here and put a button on the back of there, and this is going to be the bit that actually launches the arrows. So yeah, this is going to dispense TNT, and that's going to cause all the destruction in theory. So this redstone here will do the timer system, which is going to attach to this sticky piston, and then we need a whole bunch of slime blocks up the top here, and then we'll get a couple more furnaces in for reasons. But in theory, if we now push that, what that will do is that's going to actually put TNT in here, and then after the timer goes off, that'll drop, and then all the arrows get shot that way. But before we can test it, we do need to get the arrow dispensers in, and they need to go up above here. Well, we're almost there, but it has come to my attention that I have not brought enough dispensers with me, and as I don't have any string or bows either, I can't actually make any out here, so I need to go fly the 2,000 or so blocks home just to go get myself some more dispensers. It will totally be worth it, though. Hopefully. More dispensers acquired, let's head back to the village. Although actually thinking about it, while I'm here, I should probably fix me wings. Wings are fixed. Let's go. So now we've got enough dispensers. We can get some more in up here. In fact, I think we want to do it a bit more like this. And with redstone on top of those dispensers, that should just about do it. So in theory... Yep, we can hear the clicking. That is definitely working. Excellent. I need to go get myself a bucket of water. Conveniently, there's a massive river right here. So we put the water in there. And then we load up some TNT into these dispensers. And then I need to put a whole bunch of arrows into all of these. Let's just stick a couple of stacks in each for now. That should be fine. So I think we've got everything right. I'm just going to watch the end of this video and make sure I'm not forgetting anything. So it looks like I have got everything. So the first thing we need to do is get lots of arrows on this platform. When we do that, with this lever here. Oh my, that's loud. Right, well, that'll do for our test. That is a lot of arrows. And now, in theory, if we push this button, magic should happen. I'm standing back. I'm standing back. Oh, my. Wow. Look at that area of coverage. That is... that thing's amazing. Excellent. And that was with a very small amount of arrows as well. If we left that thing running to load it up, we could absolutely carpet this entire area. Oh, these poor cows are not going to stand a chance. I'm very much looking forward to using that in battle. I don't know why I'm collecting all these arrows. I really don't need them. Right. So that's part of our defensive strategy. That's all good, but only if they come from this direction. And that means we're going to need other traps elsewhere and other devices and things like that to protect these poor villagers. So I think one thing we could probably do with is a little bit of fortification. So what I might actually do is put in a little wall across the front here as well. And maybe we could even put some defenses on front of that wall. And then we'll do something similar over this side as well. In order to do that, though, I'm going to need a whole lot more blocks. I don't really have enough blocks for building walls or anything like that. So, well, I guess we're going to go home again. We're going to gather some blocks. And when we come back here, we will get some more defenses up. But once again, if you do want to check out this arrow cannon, it is by Timberforge. There'll be a link in the description. And it's a lot of fun. Got a wall down and I built a tower around the arrow cannon because I wanted to have a good view of the battlefield when I use it. As you can see, I have tested it to make sure it still works, but we'll save the rest of that testing for the battle. But I've moved both switches up here, so this one here will load the arrows and this one here sets off the TNT. But what I've also done is put a wall all around the village, but obviously we don't want to be making this too easy because easy is going to be boring. So what I've also done is left a few gates basically, and we've got gates on 3 of the 4 sides. I didn't bother at the back because they're unlikely to come from that way anyway, but that means we can actually funnel them into specific areas, because if they're trying to get to the villagers and they're coming from this direction, for example, and they survive the arrow storm, they're going to have to go through that gate. And it's a similar thing on the other sides as well. So what we're going to do is add a few more traps, and I think the first one I'm going to do is actually going to be right at the entrance to this gate here. And what I want to do is add a death pit basically. So I want to have an area that's fairly large, maybe this sort of size. And, well, we're going to have it so that the floor will be removed when I press a button and everything will fall down onto probably dripstone spikes, because that way I don't have to dig the hole down quite as far. But I think an area this big should be plenty to catch a whole bunch of pillagers. So, yeah, didn't want to do that. I need to actually dig this out down a bit further. So if we go down about 10 blocks or so, that should be enough to kill them when they land on the spikes. Well, that's a mighty fine looking hole, and hopefully that's going to be deep enough to kill them when we actually drop them directly onto the bad things. But for now, what I need to do is sort out the actual trigger mechanism, and for that, I guess we want a piston there. And if I put a sign there, and in theory, what I can do is just attach... Okay, this might be more awkward than I thought. But what I can do is attach a whole bunch of signs to this, and we'll, of course, cover up this side here. And then, in theory, all I'd need to do is to flick a lever here. No? What? This piston seems to have no interest in being powered. Strange is that? Is it because of the sign? It is. Okay, I wonder. If I was to do that, however... Okay, so we've got to do it slightly differently. That was confusing for me. Right, so if we get a redstone torch, and then we make sure that is powered, and we remove these ones here, because these are no good. In theory, we can just do this, and let me put a block here. And the same on this side. And then what we're going to do is we're going to place gravel on top of all these signs and the piston bit and so on. So when we now power this, it should make the floor drop down. And that's exactly what we want. Excellent. So let's get this built up and we'll put the switch somewhere a bit more useful as well. Although before we get all those fences in, I think I'm going to make my life a little bit easier and get all the spikes in first. The pit is full of spikes. Now to sort out the rest of these signs, which is going to be a little bit awkward. But I reckon if we place the gravel as we go, that should definitely help. And with that is that trap all sorted. We just need to put in the trigger mechanism now, and I think I'm going to put that up the top here, which means we're going to need to make some kind of little redstone tower here, I think. And that should just about do it. I've just put in an observer tower, and it's got a lever on top. So when I pull that lever, that will remove the floor. Simple as that. Not going to test that, though, because that took forever to set up. So the only issue with the pit is it's basically one use. So once that's happened, they're going to be able to break through. So what I want to do is, I wonder, can we automate the creation of these? We would put a dispenser there and put a carved pumpkin in it, and then power this. Will that make a golem? Let's get rid of these bits here as well. But will that make a golem? It will. Amazing. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to have a little area here where we can create some golems. And I think if we do it from above, that should also stop them from taking damage. What I'm going to do is just put a little squad of maybe 4 golems here, which is probably more than we're going to need, but it's going to look cooler than just having 1 or 2 up here, right? And what I'll do is I'll put a button on this side, and we're just going to run a little bit of redstone across these. Give it a quick repeater there just to make sure it's definitely got enough power for them all. But then pressing that button should fire the dispensers. Excellent. We just need to actually put the pumpkins in now. So I'd say that this gate here is pretty well defended. Now we need to do the gate at the top here. And in fact, I think I'm going to put one of those little golem army things down by this gate as well, just because they look like they're going to be a lot of fun. There we go. A few more golems, good to go. But up at this top one here, I think we're going to go a little bit more old school. And I quite like the idea of maybe just putting in some lava. So if we put a row of dispensers across the bottom there, and then literally just put pressure plates all around, get rid of that, grab ourselves a little bit of lava, and quite simply just put those in here. So now in theory, when those things get walked on, instant lava, and then we can turn them off again as well. Excellent. So hopefully that'll slow them down a little bit from this direction. I think what I'm going to do is actually put a bit of a minefield round the back here, because we don't really have any protection down here, but this will just give us a bit of an early warning if stuff is arriving from this direction, and it's going to be as simple as that. And we'll just dot a few of these around and try not to run on them once we place them. So I think we're just about ready. I have got a couple of other surprises in store as well, but I'm not going to show you everything, am I? Otherwise you wouldn't watch the cinematic. But we don't want to be doing this in the rain, so I'm going to wait for the weather to pass. I'm going to clear up a couple of little bits around here and make sure that we're ready for the raid. And then the battle will commence. And I'm quite excited about this. Partly because I'm looking forward to getting a totem finally. The weather has cleared. I think we're just about ready. So let's head off to this tower and see if we can get ourselves some bad omen. Where is it? There it is. Right, there's the captain. Let's see if we can get him. Yes, there we go. Right, we've got bad omen. That took a lot longer than I care to admit. But that means we are now ready, finally, to do our villager raid, get ourselves some totems. Let's engage cinematic mode, shall we? you enjoyed that. I know I did. I've just finished editing that, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. Despite the fact that the drop trap completely failed, I completely missed. I shouldn't have left that space up against the edge. And the arrow thing, I mean, it looked cool, but it wasn't actually that useful at the end. But most importantly, we've managed to get ourselves 6 totems of undying, as well as a few other bits and bobs. And in fact, I'm going to take one of them right now. So we did actually end up doing 2 raids here in the end, just because the first one wasn't that interesting. They kept spawning at the back here. But now, though, we'll leave that village be and fly home. We can always go back there if ever we need to get more totems. And, you know, we might make a raid farm eventually. Who knows? And I might have to add some kind of pack that makes the totem smaller. It's taking up loads of my screen. Jeez. And I did also promise we were going to do something with these today as well. So let's quickly grab them all and put them in our ender chest for safekeeping, because we're actually going to save that for next episode. It took me quite a while to do that cinematic extravaganza you just witnessed. But if you want to see another cinematic extravaganza for the Wither, then do let me know in the comments. For now, though, sadly, that's all we've got time for. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye now.